Hey everyone. So I decided to do a deck list for my current favorite deck of the EX5 format, and that is the MetalEtemon deck. I've been playing this deck since BT11 with the original Sukamon wave, and it's just been fun to kind of keep it going, keep catching up with it. It gets a whole load of new things in this set, so let's jump straight into it. So for the eggs, we're running a bit of an unconventional one. We're running 4 EX4 Tsunomon. This has the inherited one of your other Digimon Digivolves draw 1. This is pretty good because this deck lets you flood the board quite easily. So this egg will always be live. I actually need to get a 4th copy of this because I've been playing with a proxy. But yeah, this I've playtested quite a few eggs in this deck, and this has been the one that's got me the most success. So I like it in here. Next up for the rookies, we are running a single BT11 Chuumon. It digivolves for 1 because it's dual color, and during your turn, whenever it would digivolve into a card with Sukamon in name, reduce the digivolution cost by 1. It's decent enough, not always one you want to see, which is why I've cut it down to a single copy, but it's always nice in there as the 13th Chuumon essentially. And it has the inherited on deletion. If it has Sukamon or Etemon in name, you can play a Chuumon from trash when on deletion. Most of the Chuumons have this. There's one that doesn't, but most of them have this, and it's always a nice inheritable to get going off because, well, you'll see with the other Chuumons that they can do some crazy things. Next up is our consistency Chuumon. We are running 4 BT13 Chuumon. On play, by trashing a card in your hand with Sukamon or Etemon, you can return a Sukamon in name from trash to hand. And again, same inheritable. This is very good for basically recycling your pieces whenever you need to, because sometimes you end up trashing the pieces that you need and then play this out, see them later. Sometimes you have to hard slam it for 3 to get that. Not always the worst. I find that playing it off the deletion, this is maybe the one you want to go for on your turn. It kind of just depends what your hand's looking at, because you could also play one of our 4 copies of the BT14 Chuumon. This is the one that doesn't have the inheritable effect. It's got its own inheritable. But on play, you add the top card of security to your hand, and then you can place a card with Sukamon in its name from hand on top of your security stack. And you'll see as we get through the deck profile why this is pretty good. If you have a target in hand for this, you'll probably want to revive this. If not, bring this back. Recycle your pieces. Pretty good. Inherited on deletion, one of your opponent's Digimon gets minus 3000 DP for the turn. Doesn't sound like it to be relevant, but it really is with some of the other pieces later on that you'll see. So yeah, pretty good card. And lastly, I love this card. 4 copies of the EX5 Chuumon. It's another dual color one, digivolves for 1, which can work to your benefit if you know how to do it properly. Same inheritable as these 2 Chuumons, and on play, during your opponent's turn, reveal the top 3 cards of your deck and play a Digimon card with Sukamon in its name without paying the cost. That doesn't need to be a level 4 or anything. You can play out KingSukamon with this effect, and I've done that many times, and it feels great when you do it. But it's pretty good for like flooding the board essentially. So if your thing dies, you play this out, use this to play something else from the deck. Can't complain. Very good card. Now onto our level 4s. We are running 3 BT11 Sukamon. This has on deletion, reveal the top 3 cards of your deck, add a Chuumon, Sukamon or Etemon in name to your hand, and trash the rest. It's a good searcher, and obviously trashing the rest, that'll fill up your trash pretty quickly. Which is what you want in this deck, because a lot of your effects go live whenever you have 3 or more Sukamons in trash. So I like to have this. Would up it to 4, but I don't really have the space to right now. But it's one to consider for the future. And inherited all turns when it would be deleted by deleting another Digimon with Sukamon in name, prevent that deletion. Good protection effect. Then we're running 4 copies of the BT14 Sukamon. if it doesn't become obvious, this is a bit of a security focused build. So we like to have this one just to continue to flood the board in the opponent's turn. In security, at the end of the battle, you play it for free. Pretty damn good. And inherited on deletion, one of your opponent's Digimon gets minus 3k for the turn. Same as the Chuumon, and it can be relevant, especially if you manage to turn your opponent's Digimon into a Sukamon. That minus 3k will kill it, which I've relied on a couple of times. So, pretty good inheritable. And finally, this might be a bit contentious. 4 copies of Targetmon. I've seen people debating about this card. I really like it. I think it's really good. I wasn't sold on it at first, but actually playing with it, I really like it. It's a 3k blocker. On deletion, by trashing a card with Etemon or Sukamon in its name, you return it to your hand. It's also treated as having Etemon and Sukamon. And the inherited is the protection effect from the BT11 Sukamon. I think this card's great. I can't deny that. I've also managed to use this to get into a bit of a recovery loop, but I'll explain that when I get to the other piece of the loop, which is a bit more important. Level 5s, this is where most of your flex spots are. Play quite a lot of level 5s actually, all things considered. We're running 4 copies of BT14 Etemon. In security, if you have 3 or more cards with Sukamon in their name in your trash, you get to play a level 6 Etemon from your hand for free. And on deletion, you place this at the bottom of your security stack, and inherited on deletion, you place an Etemon from your trash into your security. So he really likes being in the security and then triggering to get your free level 6s. Yeah, this card is fantastic, especially when you see the level 6s we get to play off it. Love this card. Running 3 copies of the new Etemon. I kind of want to put this up to 4, because there have been occasions when this is really good. On playing when Digivolving until the end of your opponent's turn, one of their Digimon gets minus 3k and is forced to attack at the start of their main phase. This lets you trigger some of the effects of the level 6s to allow you to board control very well, which is always good. And the inherited is opponent's turn once per turn. When your opponent's Digimon declares an attack, you can reveal the top 3 cards of your deck and play a 3-cost black or yellow Digimon for free and trash the rest. So again, feeds into the sort of board flooding aspect of this deck, which is always nice. We've got 1 copy of the promo Etemon. I just pulled the promo Etemon and I wanted to try it in the deck, and it's quite nice at 1 actually. On play, when Digivolving, de-Digivolve one of your opponent's Digimon. It can be very useful for an important playmaker if they are on their boss monster or whatever. De-Digivolve it, make them go into it again. Pretty good. And inherited on deletion, you can play a yellow or black Digimon with a play cost of 3 or less from your hand without paying the cost. So this lets you play out most of your Sukamons, your Chuumons, anything you want. It's a very good on deletion effect. You don't need to rely on having a trash setup or anything for it. And finally, we've got 2 copies of KingSukamon. It hurt me to bring this down, but you don't need it any more than 2 from my testing. On play when Digivolving, if your opponent has 16 or more cards in their trash, bit of an odd number, but it's a reference to Digimon World 1, or you have 3 or more cards with Sukamon in name in your trash, which is more likely, change one of your opponent's Digimon into a white Digimon with 3000 DP and an original name of Sukamon until the end of your opponent's turn. So you use this, you combo it with the minus 3000 DP from the inheritables, and no matter what Digimon it is, they're dead. DP minus is pretty hard to get around. There's not a lot of things that can prevent it. So, solid card. When attacking for each other Digimon when Digivolving for each other Digimon on play with Sukamon in its name, it gets secure attack +1. That includes your opponent's side of the field, so if you turn their Digimon into Sukamons, then you get the bonus off that. If you're playing a mirror match, gonna be interesting with this card, I found. And the inherited is the protection effect again. So yeah, that's a good level 5 lineup. Now for our 6s, we've got 2 copies of KingEtemon. I don't always like to see him, but he can come in clutch whenever I need him. All turns once per turn, when another Digimon with Etemon or Sukamon in its name is deleted, you give one of your opponent's Digimon minus 3000 and security attack minus 1 until the end of their turn. And during your opponent's turn, all of your Digimon with Etemon or Sukamon in name gain blocker and can't be returned to hands or decks. So it gives a little bit of protection there and blocker, so it's always nice to have this out, block with like a Sukamon, and then give something else minus 3k. If that's also a Sukamon on the opponent's turn, kill it. Solid card. I used to run this at more than 2, I think I had it at 3 or 4 at one point, but this is probably the one I like to see the least. We've got one copy of MetalEtemon from BT11. This card is okay. Yeah, that's how I would describe it, is okay. Whenever you really want to flood the board, this is the one you want to play off the security effect, but not super often. On playing with Digimon, you reveal the top 4 cards of your deck, and you can play any number of Chuumon, Sukamon, or Etemon for free up to 7 cost. Track the rest, so you can get like 2 Chuumons out, a Chuumon and a Sukamon, an Etemon. Yeah, again, just helps with board flooding. And last but not least, the main attraction of the deck for EX5 MetalEtemon. I adore this card. On play when Digivolving, delete one of your opponent's play cost 3 or lower Digimon or Tamers. For each card with Etemon or Sukamon in its name in trash, you can add 1 to play cost you can target. Typically I'll just throw this down and clear a Tamer or something. Sometimes you throw it down and clear a boss monster. I've got it up to like 22 cost it can remove, so it could take out Death X in the late game if you really wanted it to. I don't know if it's really that bad. But yeah, nice deletion effect. And during your opponent's turn, whenever an opponent's Digimon attacks, you can place 1 card with Etemon or Sukamon in name from your hand on top of your security, and then switch target to either your security or to him. You get to choose, so it's not as if like if they're attacking security, it now goes to him, or if they're attacking him, it now goes to security. No, it's your choice. Which is very good. It was very funny. My opponent once swung in and tried to raid into this, and I used this effect to unraid back to security, which I thought was quite funny. But yeah, love this card. Very strong playmaker for the deck. And lastly, for the level 7s, we're playing a yellow deck. 1 rune mode. Yeah, it's almost a budget deck, but rune mode in this deck is crazy. I don't think I can really explain how much this has done for this deck. When Digivolving and on deletion until the end of your opponent's turn, all of their Digimon get minus 5000 DP. So I was playing against, I think it was Aegisdramon, and they had a big ass board. Digivolve into this, kill everything. It was great. End of attack, delete this Digimon and one of your opponents and recover 1. Then, if you have a Tamer in play, hatch 1 Digi-Egg card to an empty space. So this is the card that got me into the recovery loop I mentioned earlier. So I attack with this. End of turn, it would delete itself, but I have a KingSukamon under it to protect it. Also on the board, I have a Chuumon Targetmon stack, so I use the protection effect to kill the Targetmon instead. Targetmon effect, I discard a card to return it back to hand. Chuumon effect, on deletion, play out the BT11 Chuumon and Digivolve back into the Targetmon for 1 cost. And I can just do that every turn. It was really good, recover 1 each time. I lost that game from decking out, but we'll not mention that. For the Tamers, short and sweet, 1 TK. I've tried various Tamers. I've tried the Starter Deck Tie. I've tried a few other ones, but this is the one I've settled on. Obviously, we're playing a security Shenanigans deck, so it can be helpful to get that security knowledge. And also, if your rune mode ends up in security, like it's done quite frequently for me, just grab them, recover 1. Yeah, been around since BT1. This card's still seeing play. What else do you have to say? For the options, we are of course running for physical training. You could replace this with defense training if you really want to. At this point, you probably know what the trainings do, but I'll read it out anyway. So you reveal the top 2 cards of your deck, add a yellow card among them to the hand, and place the other on the bottom. Then you place this in the battle area, and then you can pop it for delay, and Digimon one of your Digimon into a yellow Digimon and just cost by 2. Very good for setting up big plays, because it'll cost you less memory to do so. Gets you a bit of search potential. Yeah, all around good card. And lastly, one of my favourite options in the game, 3 Suka's Curse. So main is one of your non-white Digimon can digivolve into a Sukamon in name from hand without paying the cost, ignoring Digivolution requirements. So this can let you go Chuumon into KingSukamon, or KingSukamon into KingSukamon, or ShineGreymon Ruin Mode into KingSukamon, which is a bit dumb, but I do love it. That's come up quite often. And security effect. Until the end of your turn, turn one of your opponents into a Sukamon. Yeah. It's a good security card. Good one to place on the top with the MetalEtemon. And then swing directly into it, turn them into a Sukamon. Quite funny. So that was the deck. If you have any suggestions, let me know. If any of the things I've described don't work the way I think they do, let me know so I don't mess it up again. And thanks for watching.